Okay, so are you ready to dive in? Today, we are tackling something pretty cool. Unlocking the secrets of a really great research interview.
Ooh, I like it. Unlocking secrets. Sounds a little mysterious, no?
Well, it kind of is. I mean, getting someone to really open up and share their story, it's a bit of an art. And luckily, we've got this awesome chapter from a book on narrative interviewing to guide us.
I've got to say, it's amazing what you can tell about an interview just from looking at the transcript.
Wait, really? What do you mean?
It's pretty straightforward, actually. In a good interview, the person being interviewed does most of the talking. Makes sense, right?
Right. I mean, it's their experiences you want to capture. You don't want to hear the interviewer going on and on.
Exactly. But the interviewer isn't just sitting there silently. They have a super important role.
Oh, for sure. They're guiding the conversation.
Exactly. They ask open-ended questions, the kind that invite the person to really share those deeper layers of their story, not just yes or no answers.
So it's less about having a strict list of questions and more about creating a space where the story can just kind of naturally emerge.
You got it. And this chapter has some amazing examples, like real stories that bring these ideas to life.
Oh, I love examples. They're the best way to learn.
For sure. So one that really stuck with me was Willa's story about losing her grandmother. She initially describes her grandmother's death as a relief because her grandmother was suffering.
I could see how that would be a relief.
Yeah. But then later, she corrects herself, says she wouldn't say she overcame the grief.
It shows how complicated grief is. Like, it's not just a straight line.
Exactly. And the way the interviewer navigates that is so skillful. Willa mentions, I miss her dearly. And instead of just moving on, the interviewer asks her what she thinks about, what she does when she feels that way.
Oh, wow. It's like they're reading each other's minds, but in a really respectful, intuitive way.
Yeah. And that question unlocks this incredible story about Willa making photo albums of her grandmother's old pictures. Ah, that's so sweet. A way of coping and reconnecting with those happy memories.
Yeah. It shows you that even in grief, there can be these moments of beauty and connection. Okay, so we've got Willow and her story of grief. What other gems are hidden in this chapter?
Damn, Anya, I'm hooked.
Well, how about a story about attraction and identity? We meet Hadley, who, after identifying as a lesbian for years, unexpectedly finds herself attracted to a man.
Whoa, okay, now that's interesting.
So earlier in the interview, she'd mentioned being kind of afraid of physical intimacy with men, and the interviewer picks up on that and asks directly about her experience with the first kiss. It's like they knew we'd all be wondering about that exact thing.
It makes me think, how do you ask a question like that without leading the person?
This is the skill, right?
Yeah.
A good interviewer knows how to phrase those questions in a way that invites the person to explore their experience without pushing them towards a specific answer.
It's about wanting to understand, genuinely understand, not wanting to fit their experience into some neat little box. Exactly. So, are you ready for another story? This one takes a bit of an unexpected turn.
Hit me with it. I love a good plot twist.
Okay, so we meet Annalise. At first, you think her story is going to be, a pretty straightforward, positive account of personal growth. But then she reveals that this growth actually came from her father's death.
Oh, wow. That's heavy. How did the interviewer even handle that?
Well, it seems like they weren't expecting such a heavy topic, so they had to adjust on the fly. They had to navigate some intense emotions with a lot of care.
I can imagine. It must be tricky to be empathetic but also stay focused on the research questions.
Definitely. And that's where this technique called circling comes in. The interviewer acknowledged the pain of her father's death, but then gently brought the conversation back to the research question about self-esteem.
Circling, huh? Could you explain a little more? It sounds like a useful tool, especially when dealing with topics that could be upsetting.
Sure. So basically you're acknowledging what's been shared, you're validating the person's feelings, and then gently guiding the conversation back to the main theme you're exploring. It's like a smooth way to make sure you address those sensitive moments without losing sight of what you're trying to learn.
That's so helpful. It's like walking a tightrope, but doing it gracefully and with sensitivity.
Mm.
So how did Annalise tie her father's death to her self-esteem?
She talked about caring for him in his final days, how even though it was incredibly hard, it gave her a sense of purpose, allowed her to feel good about herself.
Wow. It's amazing how even in the face of loss, we can find those moments of, like growth and self-discovery. It seems like all three of these stories, even though they're so different, they all point to the importance of empathy in these research interviews.
Absolutely. It's not just about asking questions. It's about making a connection. It's about fostering a space where someone feels comfortable sharing even the most difficult, even painful parts of their experience.
It's amazing, isn't it? How powerful those connections can be. Like, it's not just about the questions themselves, but the whole vibe, the way the interviewer asks the questions, the tone, the way they're listening, all of that builds trust.
You're so right. It creates this safe space. Like when you're talking to a close friend, when they're going through something tough, you're really trying to get where they're coming from.
Exactly. You're not just waiting to jump in with your own 2 cents. You're actively listening. So we've talked about empathy and being responsive.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the questions themselves? Like, are there any secret formulas for writing the perfect questions?
It's funny, the chapter doesn't really dwell on that. It's not about specific questions. It's more about the big picture, the approach.
So less about following a script and more about being present and ready to kind of go with the flow.
Exactly. You have your research question, of course, the areas you want to touch on, but a good interviewer is ready to deviate from the plan, to follow the threads that come up unexpectedly.
I love that. It's like those choose your own adventure books. You start in one direction, but the story goes wherever your choices take you.
Great analogy. And just like those books, the most interesting interviews are the ones where you're uncovering something new with each turn.
It makes you wonder, are there any traps that even experienced interviewers fall into? Things to look out for?
Of course. I think one of the biggest is the urge to lead the person, trying to steer them towards a certain answer, especially when you're really passionate about the research.
Right. It'd be easy to try and confirm your own biases without even realizing it.
Yeah. A good interviewer has to stay neutral. Avoid putting their own spin on things.
So it's about letting go, trusting the process, making sure it's their voice that really comes through.
You got it. And that can be hard, especially for researchers who are used to being in control. It's funny, isn't it? Thinking about the qualities of a good interviewer, they overlap so much with a good friend or therapist, creating that space where someone can be vulnerable.
Totally. That active listening, the empathy, building that rapport. It makes sense that the best interviews feel less like, an interrogation and more like a real conversation.
Right. When you get that connection, it's amazing what can come out. You really unearth these hidden treasures for both people.
The chapter even mentioned how a good interviewer can help the person discover things about themselves, things they weren't even aware of before.
It's powerful. Like the interviewer is holding up a mirror.
Yeah.
Helping them see things from a new angle.
That's incredible. So it's not just about getting the data. It's about creating meaning together. Wow. There's so much nuance to this. It's definitely more than just asking questions and getting answers.
It really is. It's an art form, one that takes practice and patience. And a willingness to keep learning and growing. Speaking of which, toward the end of the chapter, there's a section I thought was worth highlighting about pilot interviews. Before you start the full-blown research project.
That's interesting. Why is that so important?
Well, it's like a test drive for your questions. You can see how they work in a real conversation.
Oh, okay. To smooth out any wrinkles, make sure you're on the right track.
Exactly. It's a chance to make sure you're getting what you need while keeping that connection,
It makes sense. The more you practice, the better you get at anything.
For sure. The author even suggests having a supervisor or some peers listen to the pilot and give feedback. It's all about learning, even for experienced researchers.
Yeah, that's a great reminder that we're all still learning, no matter how much experience we have. This reminds me of something else the chapter talks about being self-aware as an interviewer, thinking about our own biases.
So important. It goes even deeper than just leading the person. We all have those glasses we're wearing. Yeah. That can distort how we see things.
Wow. That's a great analogy. We need to take those glasses off and really examine them. Think about how they're affecting how we see things.
Yeah. And that's not easy. It takes a lot of self-reflection and being open to challenging, even our core beliefs.
But it's so worth it, right? If we can put our biases aside, we can really hear their story in all its messy, complicated glory.
You said it. That's what good research is all about, approaching every conversation with an open mind and really wanting to understand the world from a different point of view.
You know, it's funny, isn't it? This chapter is not just about research interviews. It's about how we have any conversation. It's about being curious, about empathizing, and respecting the other person's experience. Yeah, you're right. It's like these principles apply to so many things, not just research. It's about making real connections with people. But before we go too far down that rabbit hole, was there anything else from this chapter that stood out to you? Anything our listeners should know?
You know, it's important to remember there's no single right way to do a research interview. It's not like baking a cake, you know. You can't just follow a recipe. It's more of an art.
Yeah, it's about finding your own style as an interviewer.
Exactly. And that style will probably change as you do more interviews, get more comfortable. But the basic principles, those always stay the same. Empathy, responsiveness, and really wanting to understand the other person's story.
It's pretty cool, right? Just a simple conversation could be so powerful. We learn, we grow, we connect with each other. This deep dive has really opened my eyes to that.
Mine too. This chapter is such a great reminder of, you know, just how important it is to listen, to give people the space to tell their stories, to be curious and open-minded. Speaking of stories, I'm curious. What story would you share in a research interview? What kind of interviewer would you need to feel comfortable enough to share those deeper parts of yourself?
That's a great question to think about. We all have stories, right? Things that have made us who we are, insights we don't even realize we have. And maybe all we need is someone who knows how to ask the right questions to help us bring those stories out.
That's a beautiful way to put it. We all have something special to share. Sometimes we just need help finding the words.
So to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep listening, and keep sharing your stories. You never know what you'll discover about yourself and the world.
We'll be back soon to dive into another fascinating topic. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.